The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, the big issue of the day is the fate of Britain, the Commonwealth, as Queen Elizabeth II is laid to rest today. Well over 500 world leaders, including heads of state and government, are at the funeral of the late British monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. And of course, the Queen death has literally brought UK to a standstill, as the funeral rites have dominated activities in that country and beyond, in honor of the Queen who reigned for 70 years, the longest so far in the history of British monarchy. US President Joe Biden and the First Lady Jill are in that country currently with other world leaders. And of course, the Queen's funeral has been described as one of the biggest gatherings of royalty and politicians hosted in the United Kingdom for decades. People across Britain paused for a minute of silence at 8 p.m. in memory of the only monarch most have ever known in world history. Well, the burial is ongoing, but what we are looking at, the big issue today, is the fate of that country and its allies in the Commonwealth. As usual, I'm your regular host, George Agba is my name, and with me here in the studio, our in-house analyst, we have Silas Ezogu.
Welcome to them.
And Bukola Ogunsina.
Thank you.
And of course, we're having a lady here on the big issue today. Well, I think we'll start from you, Bukola. You have a fair knowledge of that country, and now we witness the event leading to the burial of the Queen in the past few days, and she has been buried. Automatically, Prince Charles is the king. Prince Charles III is the king of that country. Not only the king of Britain, he is also the head of the Commonwealth. What do you think about Britain and the Commonwealth post Queen Elizabeth?
Well, I think things will still go on as normal, but definitely, of course, the Commonwealth will miss the Queen, her elegance and her way of settling issues and things. But then she had prepared the present king. She had prepared him for this role. So I really don't think there'll be any issues. At the last meeting, I think he represented her at the last meeting.
Sure.
So he would walk in her footsteps, but he would, rule in his own way. So I really don't think there'll be a problem with Commonwealth. I feel, her passing will bring us together the more because of the foundation she had laid.
Well, thank you. You know why I asked that question, Silas? He said because throughout her reign, the Queen played a key role in championing the forum and its relevance. And now it's up to King Charles III to handle the difficult task of stewarding the organization and its member states, which have disparate political and economic interests. And of course, we're hearing about certain countries trying to pull out from that country, like that, the Commonwealth, like Jamaica. And of course, you were aware of the Brexit. Looking at King Charles, will she have that clout her mother, the Queen, had in keeping the Commonwealth as one?
Yes, Joy, thank you for the question. Bukola had laid a good foundation for this, even for this question when she said that her mother groomed her for this role. And I remember the last Chogum had the Queen didn't go is St. Charles, Prince Charles then. And then I know it will not be easy to have another Queen Elizabeth II, and then she stayed on the throne, her elegance, her majestic voice, her her way of trying to carry everybody along. You know, she was a queen of the highest order as well as being somebody who also had the way of connecting to the common people, you know, and people from different areas. She also had the way of accommodating everybody, and it was not a coincidence that such an organization like the Commonwealth came to be formed, in her time. She was the queen, and she got this thing going. So, I do not think that the I believe that jazz has been something years right now, has
Yes,
been
yes.
there ever present throughout our mother's you know uh, monarchy, and has taken. I don't know any other prince who has gone through the kind of tutelage on how to in statecraft that this length of time that in fact it was said that he is the longest, the oldest monarch to come to power at this age. And I think the oldest then was 60 something. He's coming at 70 something. So,
Mm.
so you know,
73.
73, and she was just 3 years when her mother became queen. So she has been in the court for 70 years. So whatever she needed to learn, and her mother overshadowed everybody, but he also allowed them to play some roles, underneath, in order to prepare them for the job ahead. So I do not think that the Commonwealth will be will be affected in any significant way. I know that, of course, people will have some agitations, but when they put everything on the table, they will find out that they will benefit more when they belong to the union than to the outside of it. Of course, there have been controversies of the time past, but the world has to go on one way or the other. Okay, now some of the things that happened in the past were a product of at the time in which they occurred. Some of those parameters are no longer available at the moment. So, and there's always um, benefit in belonging to such a big and a broad constitution that promotes the best ideas of governance, of economy, togetherness, of culture. That's always, and I've seen people, even those who are not colonized by the English, who are, wanting to join the Commonwealth. They were not British colonists in the past. They didn't have a history with Britain in situation, but some of them have been pushing to join because they see the benefits of being. I think Cameroon was one. Some other countries, I think Gabon also, who are not even English speaking. Say. So I think that the Commonwealth is safe with jazz. Yes, apart from the time he had issue with his marriage, he has not been known to have um, a disparate behavior that is called to question publicly. You understand? So, and then,
And he has a good sense of humor.
well, he has a good sense of humor, and then he's a dandy man. A lot of people see, and I didn't have too much after what happened with Diana. I didn't quite like him so much, you know. But because of the kind of um, role they are placed as monarchs. They're not always like politicians who can come out and say their own side and start blabbing in public. But some of the way he has carried himself, some of this organization has happened, the way he addressed, that his first address showed you that somebody that's deeper, much deeper than I had thought. And then he said something, he said that her mother has walked this path and he was going to follow more or less in her steps. But like Buki said, he will learn. He has learned what he has done for the mother, but somehow before he reached this world, he will also make his own mark because the 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 era of Elizabeth II has ended. Okay, some of her legacies will be carried on, but Charles, one way or the other, is going to leave his mark on the world stage, on this monarchy before he also exists this world. So I don't think that it's going to be any, even those it was like ask those who want to leave. I'm sure that the way her mother has managed it, I'm sure he has learned one or two things he had to manage touch. I remember, during the time of the Queen when Canada and Co voted to leave. But after they voted, Quebec said I wanted to leave. And they voted, even though it is, it's a French-speaking part of Canada. They voted, and the vote came out that they wanted to remain, in even the British within the king, the Queen, still being the head of state. So I think that he's strong, he's also mature, and he will be able to handle whatever these issues that come.
Uh, he cannot say that the Commonwealth has not achieved anything in all of their existence. Commonwealth, the organization itself had made provisions, like I know they give scholarships to other countries to come to the UK to study. And then I also know that there are certain privileges that you have as someone that's from a Commonwealth country.
Sometimes we used to see some interventions,
Yes.
even to Nigeria, one of his colonies.
Yes. So there are a lot of privileges being in the Commonwealth. So I really won't agree with him. There are fundings, there are like
Even the charities.
trainings, yes, and the charities, and a lot of other things. So and I'm surprised because he's Indian, right?
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
not
Nepalese.
India.
Not Indian.
Same,
Oh,
Nepalese.
okay.
Lebanese.
Oh, okay. They are not a part.
Lebanese, yes.
I don't think they're part of the Commonwealth.
Well, thank you, Buki.
And sorry if I can just chip in.
Yes, go ahead.
The New Zealand Prime Minister,
Mm.
they are also under Commonwealth.
Mm.
She said something that really, really, really struck a chord. She was like, she spoke to the Queen the last time she met the Queen. She spoke to the Queen and she told the Queen that, okay, she hopes someday New Zealand will become a republic. And the Queen, I think, is in support of that as well. And she went on to say that even after the New Zealand becomes a republic, they still be close to England, the United Kingdom. So that's to even show you that even without Commonwealth, people still respect the Queen. People still want to have something to do with England, the United Kingdom. They
Well,
want to belong.
well, that is by the way, we will come back after other aspects about the Queen's demise and the ascendance to the throne, right? King Charles III. And of course, we hope that our viewers will contribute by their way of comment to the conversation on the big issue. Don't go offline. We'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158 Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Well, welcome back. We're still on the big issue in leadership podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the fate of Britain, the Commonwealth, as Queen Elizabeth II is being laid to rest today. Well, Silas, the Queen's burial, beyond just the funeral rites with its pomp and pageantry, is also political. And of course, it goes a long way to reflect the ties between Great Britain and other countries. And of course, some world leaders were not invited. And of course, we know that the president of Russia, Putin, will never be invited in that.
That's an object.
Since the war with Ukraine, severe ties with Russia and the United Kingdom. Saudi Arabia, who was said to have been invited, but most activists and civil society organizations came out condemning it because of the murder of that journalist. What is that her name? At the end of the day, we now see how the world works, the international community. And some of these things you do and stay in your country and you think you'll get away with it will actually come to the fore when a very big event like the Queen's funeral is in the mix here. What I think, Buki, what would you think about that? The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, his invitation, the criticism trailing it.
To be honest, I'll tell you, I was very surprised when I heard he was invited to the funeral. But then again, when you look at it, what some people have argued is that there was no way to prove that he had actually killed Khashoggi. That's probably why, they are going on as normal and having him come over for the funeral. That if maybe they had a way to prove and then he was actually indicted, he'd probably not be on that list. And I have a feeling he has been very close to, he's sort of close to the royal family, and he's also royalty himself. And looking at the relationship the United States has with Saudi Arabia, definitely that would have, spoken for him.
Well, we still have other people apart from Putin of Russia, who is among those not invited. We also have the representative from Syria, Venezuela, and Afghanistan, not invited too.
What I'm seeing here is that the United Kingdom does not have full diplomatic relations with these countries. That's why no one from Belarus, Myanmar were invited, and Syria. But Russia, we all know it's very obvious what is happening in Ukraine. And then there was a time too that the Chinese were not allowed near the parliament. And
but ironically, the Chinese president
was invited.
Was invited.
Yes. So I got to know
Chinese is supporting Russia in this war.
And
Not
no,
obviously.
there's nothing to say that.
No, but
they're
the
They-
UK, well, from
they
what
are
I
for
from what
peace,
the UK
actually.
is suspecting.
China has
China-
not supported the American British forces.
They're
that are
remaining
helping-
neutral.
They're remaining neutral, to protect their trade with Russia.
Mm.
But they are not obviously supported Russia, and maybe they can. China is just interested in trade. Where they can get their money flowing. That's why they're interested in. So they're not interested in the fighting.
Well, you remember?
So if they want to deal with
Mm.
Russia in terms of their product, they won't mind
Mm.
as long as they don't stop their trade. That's what you're
You
interested in.
see, Buki, when it was time for sanctions, when the United States, the UK, and the rest were sanctioning Russia over this war, China refused to impose sanctions on Russia. And I think that is why the United Kingdom doesn't seem to be comfortable with
No,
it.
the reason why China did not want to be put in a very uncomfortable position, to choose. So they are for peace. That's all they are saying. They are not taking sides in, okay, I'm supporting Russia, I'm not supporting Russia. But let's just find a way to resolve this crisis, so that everything can just be settled. That's why, China was very careful in its method of intervening. You understand? And then what happened actually was that the Chinese people that were not allowed into the to the, I don't know if it's Westminster Abbey now or the Parliament itself. It was because China, according to what a colleague had told me, China had seized or freezed assets of like, is it 10 parliamentarians from Britain? And so this was sort of like a tit for tat. It's nothing to do with the Queen. It's a Parliament thing. Parliament issue. So
there's nothing you do from the Parliament. You think you keep the Queen as above. She is the ruler of that country.
But she doesn't involve herself in all of these
in parliamentary issues.
And honestly, it would be nice if Charles also maintained that sort of tradition. She doesn't meddle. Yes, she just leaves it for the Prime Minister. If they want her advice, fine, they come to Buckingham Palace, But then she sort of like, she separated things,
You see, but most time, above all, I think most people are wondering what has made the Queen, the late Queen, what made her to have this kind of larger than life personality, because hate her all over. She is one individual in the world that at the end of the day has become a rallying point. Of course, because they say the history of colonization was a history of exploitation and brutal subjugation of indigenous people. And of course, in Africa, we heard that some of these artifacts and some of those precious items stolen from this country, some of them were even said to be what they use in making the Queen's a crown, like the diamonds, and we'll be hearing stories of countries asking that they should return those artifacts. And then some of those precious items. Despite that, when critics like Nigerian Professor Anya try to criticize the Queen, if you see the kind of bashing she got from different parts of the world, in short, the whole thing set the Twitter space on the overdrive. At the end of the day, you begin to wonder, something must be very significant about the Queen, that somebody said, no, it is not really earthly. There's some spiritual dimension to it. Do you really agree to that?
I won't know about the spiritual matter. I'm not an expert
What
on
of
that.
you, Boki?
I'm not an expert on
do you
spiritual
know
matters.
when she died, it rained that day, and then a
This
colleague of
this-
mine
this
from the
racism.
BBC
Yes.
sent me a photo
Even
of
today, when
a rainbow.
even today in the
a
burial,
rainbow,
yes.
and
You
then
saw that rainbow,
it's sort
that-
of
yes.
like
even today in the morning at about 8, they say rain started falling. In her funeral again.
and we've been hearing of the heat wave and things like that, and
Of
then
course.
this happens, and then for the people that are about mounting her, I just feel it is very, very distasteful. Someone has just died. Why weren't you saying these things when she was alive?
You're alive.
Why is it now that the whole world is celebrating her that you are now saying these things? And it wasn't proper.
At all.
It wasn't.
I
Wrong
know how
timing
this
at all.
kind of way of saying that still not the end of the day.
Of the dead.
They join the ancestors and go. So, You see, what the question you asked is very important because she was the king when her country, part of the time when the country was also so imperial and so exploited of the colonies as well, including Nigeria, Africa, and other places. And those countries fought a bitter war to free themselves from the subjugation of. But if you look at it, since the British and Co left our shores, have we really done better for ourselves? Are we not poorer? Do we have more freedoms in Nigeria than they had? The only thing then was that they, and then, so I've heard Nigerians who are saying it was better for the British to have stayed a bit more. So I can.
It was better before.
They left it in the hands of
I think that has to do with the fact with the way our leaders are going
took
about
over,
governance in
that the
Nigeria.
British would have thought if they had ruled us, would have been much better off than these Nigerians have done. I've had people arguing that, and then too that there's a thing to happen with time. With time, some of the wounds of the colonization, started, ebbing, the wounds started healing gradually, and so on. And then, she became a global citizen to the point that, she's the most recognizable monarch anywhere in the world, and she's been there for 70 years. So all those time, they cleaned up their things. They have given independence to most countries. Some of them fought it out. Some of them have got it like Nigeria in a platter and so on. So you find out that even when things needed to change, when it's that this system of subjugation is no longer working, we quietly, gradually, release those countries to rule themselves, and just had a kind of relationship with them, in terms of Commonwealth, economy, politics, and co. So they maintain that relationship, So I think that over the time people have considered those things were even before the colonialists come, we were having intertribal wars, inter-ethnic wars, inter-nation wars in Africa and around the world. So it was the time of conquest. People can take the best out of the other person, But so they were the masters of the game, and they were able to establish their hegemony across the whole world, in Africa, in Asia, even in South America, across the world. But at the time, it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire. So that the war had moved on. The time was globalized village, and some of those, though they're still holding some of those access. They're still holding on to some of them. I know they fought a bitter war with Argentina for the Falkland War and so on. They're still holding that, and you can say feel stronger about it, and some other, But overall, those who really push to have their self-governance, like independence and republicanism, like Aden of New Zealand, they're more likely to listen to them now in those days. So some of these have made it that people are no longer feeling so much angst. And that's why when Professor Aya is spoken that way, she got bashing from all over, from the high and mighty. And I can understand where she's coming from. But what do you want to pretend? I was arguing off studio that with somebody said, look, Britain, I know they voted appointed to a point, but as whites, that they don't naturally they will take sides with whites. Understand?
Of course.
If in South Africa. But along the way, when was time for South Africa to be liberated, everything went the way it went, and another emerged, and the past is gone.
Well, thank you, Silas. Poor King Charles the Third.
Paul? He's not a farmer.
No, what I mean, poor him.
Because of the
time is not on his side.
No, but we never know.
You
Come
see,
and keep him for 150 years.
At the point, people were saying that the Queen does not want to.
Was
Yes, I know.
very,
You see how old he looks like.
And then that William is now walking in the footsteps his father
Of
was.
the father, yes. And of course, let's look at what becomes of his reign. Although he might not reign for too long like the Queen, because he's already 70, 72, 71, how many years? At the end of the day, most people are saying that Prince Diana would have been a better queen to Charles the Third than King Charles, than the present Queen. What do you think? Because Silas raised the issue of Princess Diana here. And that cast a spell in the eyes of so many people about Prince Charles and the royal family in Britain. What do you think?
About his.
So
Yes,
you know that
it's
Diana
really-
should have been a
it's
bitter
really-
queen.
You know, I think they have gone past that. You know, Diana can never be forgotten. However, Camilla is now the queen consort. And I don't think the queen has a problem with Camilla, because you would have seen her on various occasions on TV attending functions with Camilla. I think the queen is a very down to earth and approachable person from all I've heard about her. And so I look at Meghan, for example. She welcomed Meghan into the family. The royal family is evolving with time. You understand? So I don't think any of these things will matter anymore. Initially, I was worried too that, okay, you know, in those days, you couldn't divorce your wife and still be royalty.
The royalty.
Because the church was against divorce, seriously against divorce. And then this happens. But still, Charles is the king, you know. So I all of these things the royal family will try to just, you know, continue to change with the changing times to avoid any friction with, you know, the country, its people, and the people around them. And I also got an information just now that the Zimbabwean president was actually invited.
He was invited back.
Mm.
Yes, because there were reports that he was
couldn't
back.
attend.
He couldn't attend. Okay.
And that he sent the foreign affairs minister.
Because people were wondering if a powerful country like
And even
an
the
African
North
country,
Korean ambassador. Oh, this
he
is
made it to the place.
interesting.
He made it to the burial
I don't even know, but he got an invite.
invite. Okay.
North Korean ambassador.
Well, we would have gone on and on, but time is not on our side. This is the much we can take for the big issue of the day. And of course, I'll thank our in-house analyst for actually addressing the big issue, which has to do with the ongoing final funeral rites of the queen, the late queen of the United Kingdom, Queen Elizabeth II. I thank you, our viewers, for keeping tab with us out there. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.